Happy Devils Wednesday. This is the State of the Fan address titled New Devil's Blood. You got to have some guts and blood on this podcast. Streaming live on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter Live, and Twitch on the Primetime Radio Network. I'm here with the Pucks and Pitchforks blog editor-in-chief, Nick Villano. I'm your host, Sam Wu, from the bunker. Nick, from his estates down in Tampa, Florida. Go Tampa! Go Tampa! Please beat the Rangers.
Oh God.
My goodness.
Please.
But they're still talking about the Mets and Yankees on New York Sports Talk Radio right now.
Which is it is what it is, right?
Yeah, you know what? I don't care. I really don't care. I don't care about Lafreniere. I don't care about Gallant, or whichever you pronounce his last name. But, you know, I will say this, though. Devils fans aren't going to be very happy if they're able to complete their quest. The team across the river.
Let's not even talk about it. Not worth it.
No, I have to talk about it because I just brought it up.
It's game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. I actually have an announcement to make, Sam.
Really? Do you want me full screen you?
No,
you want me full screen you?
I want to see your reaction.
You want my reaction? All right.
Yes. It's official, Sam. There's a reason why I'm wearing my West Virginia shirt, right? Because there's a saying in West Virginia. It's take me home.
Oh.
Sam, as of August 1st, I will officially be a New Jersey resident again.
Really? You didn't tell me this beforehand? You didn't tell me this? I even asked you. I was like, so how are things going, Nick? How was your week?
I know.
Congratulations.
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Hey, the jerseyness is coming out of you.
I know. It's already back. Oh, I can't wait to start giving
Here, I'll give you the finger.
All around, the state bird to everybody. No, yeah. So I'm actually, I got a job in Atlantic City. I'm not right to say the specifics yet, but I am moving. Unfortunately, I do have to move to South Jersey, so I'm going to be around a lot of Flyers fans, but not too far from Prudential Center. So next season, I'm going to be spending a lot more time with the fans. And you could come up and talk to me.
Wow.
At Center. You could talk one-on-one, some Devils hockey. I can't wait to talk to some. I mean, I've talked to people on Twitter for 5 years, Sam, that I've never met in my life. I can't wait to start meeting some people. I'll be hanging out at Taj Lounge 973 sometimes.
Wow.
I'll be hitting up all the spots. So, Sam, it's official. The boy is coming back home. I am so excited. Yeah, I mean, we got 2 months. We have a lot to do. I'm going to miss Tampa. Tampa was great to me. But, sometimes it's just time to go home. And it got to the point where it was just time. It was time to go home. My family still lives in Jersey. I've been to Jersey a lot just because, when you miss, I couldn't see my family for more than a year like everybody else. So we were kind of on an island here. And it was time to get off the island, get back to the peninsula that is New Jersey.
Wow.
So I'm excited. I'm excited to come home.
South Jersey, Southpaw, South Jersey. I like that. And plus, you're in a gambling part of the state, Atlantic City. AC is what some people call it. Congratulations, Nick. And to the people that are listening in and watching right now, I literally had no idea. Because I just asked you before the podcast. I was like, so how are things go? When are you coming up to New Jersey? You're like, yeah, sometime. Oh, okay, very casual. but you saved it for the podcast. So breaking news, it's such breaking news. I wasn't even prepared for it. There's no
There's no
scroll
drop.
ticker.
No, there's
Yeah,
nothing.
there's nothing.
When it's breaking news to the host and the producer, that's when it's real breaking news. Everybody finding out at the same time. Yeah, I know. So I spent some time with my wife's family over the weekend in West Virginia. My father-in-law actually got me this shirt. So
he's a nice guy, by the way. I did meet him when he came up last time. Very nice gentleman.
Yeah.
But we have to talk about the Penn State,
great.
West Virginia thing.
Well, so Bob actually used to work for Penn State, so he's not as hateful towards Penn State as others. But you and me could talk about the Penn State West Virginia thing. I'll yell at you for rooting for the wrong team. It's okay.
Oh wow, yeah. We're gonna go to some college football games before the season starts. Get warmed up.
Get all ripe and ready. I mean, I'm just ready for that West Virginia Pitt game. I hate Penn State, but I despise Pitt. Man, I told my wife, because I don't root for Ben Roethlisberger. Oh, Tampa tied it. Oh, that's great. That's fun.
Oh, that's good.
I looked down. I was too busy making my announcement. I didn't realize the Tampa tied it, so that's fun. Anything to make the Rangers fans miserable. That's what we're rooting for. We need them to. I just need Chris Kreider to not injure Andre Vasilevsky. That's just what I need to not happen because I just see it happening. And, they're going to face another backup goalie, face another third-string goalie. I mean, Colorado already lost their goalie, Sam. So there's another backup goalie that's happening. What is with it? What is with it with so many backup goalies in the playoffs this year? But before we have, and I'm going to kind of get into this with our guests coming up. Sam, what is it? I think I learned something from these playoffs, Sam. Is that as soon as the Devils get decent, this division, coming into the season, we thought top to bottom, this division was awesome, right? We thought everybody was going to be at least really good, or at least good, right? You thought everybody, even Columbus was supposed to be good. And then the Devils and the Flyers just bottomed out completely. And Columbus wasn't that good at all. But then I see the playoffs, Sam, and I see Carolina just can't really get it together. Pittsburgh, I mean, I know they had, a third-string goalie in there, but even their play was just not – this isn't the Penguins of old. Washington was always going to get destroyed in the playoffs. Is this division going to turn into, the Pacific, where it's one of the easier ones to get out of, to get to the Eastern Conference Finals if you just get on a run? How good is New York going to be for the next 10 years? I think they're pretty good now. I think they could be really good for the next 2 years. But then after that, there's a lot of questions about what's Kakko become, what's Lafreniere become, and then kind of what are they going to do at center. There's a lot that still needs to happen with New York for them to sustain this for a long time. But they'll always have Shesterkin, so that's something that's going to keep them. They're going to be a playoff team for a long time. The Islanders, I don't know. What becomes of the Islanders? Are they the same under Lane Lambert? Are they just as good? Is the defensive structure as good? Do they focus more on offense? Does Lou Lamoriello shoot for the stars? What really happens there? And then, with Carolina, they just kind of fell apart. So I think this is the time. The Devils do have to go for it. And it's not good enough that the same goals they had this year is not the same goals they had last year, where you have to get close to the playoffs. It's playoffs or bust next year. And if it's no playoffs, fire the whole staff.
It's no playoffs next season. It's not till 2025. I'm going to tell you right now.
Then you're going to have a brand new staff. No Lindy, no Fitzy. No, I think that's.
No, I think Fitzy will still be there. He'll be the last one standing.
But I want him to. Even if the Devils don't make the playoffs, I want him to stay. But I'm just telling you, I think that they're gonna make the move.
And also, it's going to be kind of interesting what's going to happen if the Rangers do go all the way. And I know we don't want to talk about it, but you know what? That should put a little bit of pressure, on the higher ups. But anyway, if they care. But let me get our next guest.
Okay, we have a fun guest tonight. A new NJ.com reporter Ryan Novozinsky. He just started, I think, last month. Well, I guess it's June now, so like a month and a half ago. He's been banging out articles, but he's writing about the Devils. It seems like he's a big Devils fan. He's excited to get on the podcast. I'm excited to have him on here, Ryan Novozinsky. And we just like having a guy to write about the Devils again on these newspapers. Like Star Ledger, this wasn't that hard. Just make the move. And we have a guy who's writing about it. He's still getting his feet wet. So, send him some stuff. You can follow him on Twitter, Ryan Novo62. But he's going to bring his extensive knowledge of Devils hockey on here. We're going to talk about draft picks. We're going to talk about the offseason. And we're going to talk about this damn team in blue. And I'm not talking about the Lightning. But anyway, I'm super excited. I'm super excited to come to New Jersey, guys, folks, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so excited to meet a lot of you. I know I've met some of you at some things. We've seen some of you at, some of y'all came to the Amalie Arena watch party. Some of y'all came and met me at the when we talked to Chico at Taj 973. We've had a lot of you come on, and it was exciting. It was a lot of fun to meet, but it was short, and obviously it was still kind of COVID-y out. So, you kind of have to play that. Hopefully next year, that's just not the case. Hopefully we're in much better shape, and we could just have fun as Devils fans. And we have a good team. I want a good team so bad. I just want to root for a good team more than anything in my power. It's been 5 years. I've had one good team to root for, to write about. All I want to do is write about a good team. But Sam, you're back.
I'm back. Thank goodness for the New York Mets. They've rejuvenated my fandom because all my teams stink. Giants, even Penn State was stinking for a little bit. They're kind of up and down. Devils, obviously. But it happens.
I will say,
anyway,
before I know we have the guest,
yep.
but real quick, this has been one of the worst sports years for me. You think about the Yankees kind of were a do-nothing team last year, and then the Devils for 2 years in a row have just been one of the worst teams in the league, and then the Knicks go from this height of everything to a complete stinker again. So I'm ready to root for a good team. I think the guy you have on the line is ready to root for a good team, Sam.
I'm sure he is. His name is Ryan Novozinsky. Hopefully I didn't...
Novozinsky.
Oh, thank you, Ryan. He's a reporter of NJ.com. You can find him on Twitter at RyanNovo62. Ryan, you're on with Sam and Nick.
Gentlemen, how are you guys doing today?
We're doing great, Ryan.
I just heard you guys. I heard you guys talking about how the Mets are the one bright spot in a lot of this local fandom here, which is it's kind of crazy thinking about their history and how they're the one bright spot right now. Obviously, they're doing really well though.
They are, Ryan. But I'm wondering, is it because now they have an owner that has a lot of money and doesn't care how much he spends? Do you think that has a lot to do with it? Change the culture.
I think it definitely does.
Hey, we got a billionaire, Sam. I want our billionaire to spend too.
Yeah, well, it's kind of interesting because I did read an article. I don't know if it was in the New York Post, and they were talking about Stephen Cohen, also known as Uncle Steve to Mets fans, and he has now brought in from his hedge fund his top numbers analytics people to work with the baseball people. And then I thought that was very, very interesting because, he's paying it out of his own pocket. And obviously a lot of the investors in, I think, .72, I think that's his company, are the people on the board are like worried because they're spending too much time on baseball, not, making money, because obviously he has a fiduciary responsibility for them. But for me as a Mets fan, whatever works. I'm not a big analytics guy, but you know what? The only number that really matters to me are wins. So why can't Harris and Blitzer do the same thing? Or are they trying to? I don't know.
It's a good question. And, you talk about the New York Post. The New York Post also did a story saying how the Devils should look to the Mets as sort of a building block for how to build a successful franchise. They said they need their Buck Showalter. They said that a couple weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago.
Yeah, no,
That's right.
That was a couple of weeks ago, and then I do remember that. It's an interesting thought, and I know everybody was up in arms about that article because he brought up John Tortorella, and that's just the one name you don't want to hear. But there's some, but it's weird because like you definitely don't want John Tortorella, but you really do want Barry Trotz, who runs a similar system, just without like the pomp and circumstance in the press conferences. So just kind of interesting how the Devils fans have looked at that whole situation in general.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. Like Tortorella would be an interesting name to throw out there, but I think Barry Trotz would be, let go from New York this year. I mean, it was kind of a weird decision on their part. So, I mean, we'll see what happens with him in the future. If he might have gotten hired already, I didn't see. I know he was in some of the final stages for some of the, or no, I guess not.
Yeah, no, I don't think that anything's happened with any of the coaches, which is kind of weird. The coaching carousel kind of just took a pause. I guess everybody's watching hockey right now. So, let's get, I've already pushed this interview off the rails, which Ryan, if we, once you become a friend of the podcast, you'll kind of just understand that we're just along for the ride. But let me get back on pace. And you know what? Let's get to executives. Let's talk about that. Let's go to the Devils making a couple hires this week. They hired a very well respected executive, Angus, from the Toronto Blue Jays, to be, I believe he's senior vice president, and then they promoted Megan Dugan to director of player development. Two obviously huge moves for the front office. And, this is a front office that's focused a lot on analytics lately, a team that's focused a lot on the little things, the crossing their T's, dotting their I's, and hoping that eventually turns it into a playoff team. Ryan, what was your first thought about these two, or I guess the hire and the promotion?
Well, yeah, absolutely. On first thought, I said, wow, Angus Mugford is a very cool name. I thought that was a very awesome name. He's the guy that came from Toronto, not the Maple Leafs, the Blue Jays, as you guys mentioned. He also has an interesting background in a multitude of different sports. He was with the MLB for, I think, 7 years it was. And then before that, he was with IMG Academy, which is for those who don't know, is a super athlete school down in Florida. And he did tons of sports from baseball, football, basketball, and I think even some tennis and some other interesting type of sports in there too. He's never done hockey from what I know. But he's also done stuff with the U.S. Special Ops military. So yeah, he is somebody who is an analytical mind, if you want to say that. He's someone that can, he works a lot with athletes and their mental health, and he does a great job with that. And he obviously was instrumental in building a very successful team in the Toronto Blue Jays. Obviously, he's not the GM or anything, but he was somebody in that department that had, he was the head of a position there, and he did a great job. And they're obviously a very young, very good team in Major League Baseball, and he's someone that has experience with all these different sports. And at first, my thought was, oh, there's no hockey in there. That's kind of weird. I think even the way I portrayed the story was Devils look to baseball to hire someone in their player development department, but it goes beyond that. It really does, because he works with the minds of athletes, and he has not only experience with minds of athletes, but with the minds of people that are dealing with some of the toughest environments in the world in the U.S. Special Ops for military. So I love the hire. I think it's going to be really good, and I think it's almost one of those things that's it's not a big gamble it is a big gamble in terms of the hockey side of things, but it's not a big gamble in terms of the athlete minds of things, because this is a guy who I think can get even young players prepared for anything. And I mean anything. It sounds like, he's someone that can bolster the mindsets there. And then Megan Dugan, of course, I mean, what else can you say that hasn't already been said about her? She is fantastic, one of the most decorated U.S. women's hockey players of all time. Married her rival in Canada, Jillian Apps, and it was hired here last year by the Devils, and I thought it was a good hire at the time, and I think it's just proven dividends. I'll tease something right now. I spoke with Megan today, and she seems to be doing really well and is really excited about the opportunity. And, she's going to be a lot busier with her new role, but she also said that some things stay a little bit the same with this role. And I think, just from top to bottom, she's been able to guide these young players really well so far in their first year here. And I think the sample size is going to be even better when we go down the road here, and her in terms of developing this team. And, look, guys, you guys know that you need a really strong player development staff if you have a team as young as the Devils. But you also need somebody who's willing to focus on the veterans too, and how they're going to, kind of mesh into the system here. If the Devils, sign a free agent, or if they trade the number 2 pick for a good veteran out in the league, you want someone that can, in that developmental staff or any, member of the front office, to have a good hospitality and have a good, knowledge of the organization as a whole. And I think that's what these two people have, and I think Angus will get there when the time comes.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how it all plays out. And obviously, these are the things that it's hard to when they trade for a player, when they sign a player, when they draft a player, you can kind of see the results right in front of you. But when they make hires like this, it's a little bit different. It's player development is you can see players develop. So there's something that is a little bit more tangible. But for Angus Mugford, it's going to be a little bit different. I do want to talk about the product on the ice. I want to talk about what the Devils are going to do this offseason. I kind of want to talk about what your expectations are. There's two main things, obviously, with the offseason. There's the big rumors of the making a big move, going for a big fish. And then there's the second overall pick. And there's a little bit of overlap with that as well. So first of all, I want to talk about the second overall pick. You wrote a little bit about Joe Slavkovsky. You wrote about it for just kind of going off of what John Butchercross from ESPN said and building off that, whether maybe the Devils are going to get the best player in the draft at number 2. What are your thoughts? What is your assessment of Slavkovsky? Obviously people are falling in love with him. He looks like a really skilled player and even had some people saying that he's better than Shane Wright. What's your thoughts so far?
Yeah, with Slavkovsky, it's interesting. He's got the great size. For his position, just a great size. He's very bulky. He's he's elusive with the skating. He needs to get a little bit better with skating, but I think that would come. Stick handling is really, really good. I think with Slavkovsky, though, you've seen a bigger sample size of him, especially in bigger moments. And over the past couple of months, he's played a lot with Slovakia. And it's one of those things where you've seen him a lot, and he did really well in the Olympics, obviously, led all scorers at 17 years old. And I think that's what a lot of people are kind of, falling in love with over the last couple of weeks with him. And for good reason. He's really good, and he's that size. I can't say it enough. That size is going to be a force to be reckoned with in the NHL, especially for someone as physical as he is. He can get in there and get up and bang through defenders and really get close to the goal. And he can also finish. Shot is very good. He's got to work on the accuracy a little bit. With all that being said, though, I think that Shane Wright, what his expertise is just hockey IQ, but that's that's not a knock on Shane Wright. I think he's very good at it. He's very poised. He's a cerebral player, and the Athletic they did a whole breakdown of Slavkovsky, and they in their lead they mentioned Shane Wright and sort of his playing intangibles, and it's all accurate. He's a cerebral player. He's got a great IQ, and he's someone that can stay poised there on the ice, and he can be the leader of the team. He can make every one of his teammates look better. I don't know if you guys are basketball guys, but you might see a lot of sort of like a Kate Cunningham kind of guy who was the first overall pick in basketball last year. And it's, he's going to be a good impact player for whatever team gets him. That being said, I think he edges out Slavkovsky just slightly, but I think this is going to end up being one of those drafts where you look at it and say, okay, that 1-2 punch up there, that's pretty good. Whatever team, I think the Devils are in a good spot right now having the number 2 pick. I think they're going to be fine with regardless of who Montreal selects. And let's be real here, I really do think that Montreal is going to pick Shane Wright. I think they fell in love with him even more so at the Combine this week. There were some reports coming out of Montreal that that noted that, and I think they're going to end up picking him. And whether the Devils make this pick or not, time will tell. But if they do, I think Slavkovsky is a great consolation prize.
All right, so you kind of hinted at it. So let's just get right into it. The Devils have been reported to still be looking at a possible trade of the number 2 overall pick. I feel like that's come out before a lot of the just through the roof excitement has come through about Slavkovsky. You're hearing that, like, yeah, he does have a lot of similarities to Kaapo Kakko, but he does a couple things better, a couple of the intangibles better. So, like, there's a lot of people who just fall in love with this kid. And there's still people who are on Nemec and Cooley as well. So it's not like it's it's Slavkovsky or bust. I think it's Slavkovsky or bust at this point. I was on Nemec for a long time, but I just can't. I've been convinced, and I'll kind of get into that more as the weeks go on. But let's focus on the task at hand. Fitzgerald straight up said that he is still looking at a possible trade of the first-round pick when it was around 5th overall. Elliot Friedman said he's still looking at the possibilities. He's just trying to figure out who this pick is worth. Ryan, who is this pick worth? Like, what are you looking for if you're the Devils?
You know, this is a question that I've been wrestling with all day. And honestly, when I look around the league, it's hard to pinpoint. I know Tkachuk has been thrown out there. I know he has. And that might be a guy that you could look at, but whether Calgary makes that deal or not, I don't know. I really don't know. So, speculating on who the Devils could get, there's a couple names you could throw out there, but I think Tkachuk is the one guy that really sticks out above the rest as being like, okay, if there was a deal there, they couldn't come to a deal in Calgary with him, I guess long term, and the Devils were to go in there and throw up a trade offer for him and maybe a couple other pieces, I don't know. I think maybe that is the one that's the most appealing right now, but everyone else around the league, I just don't know who you can get for this number 2 overall pick. This is not next year's draft. If this was next year's draft and New Jersey at number 2, I'd say that they could get a bona fide superstar with this pick. But I just don't know that the value is there towards the top of this draft in particular. You don't have Connor Bedard up there. You got Shane Wright and Slavkovsky. But when it comes to like this, getting the value around the league, I think I can only say right now, maybe Tkachuk.
And I understand. I kind of see where you're coming with that. I know there's just a lot of talk about it, and I get it. I just don't know it all depends on what, like you said, it all depends on what you have to add. If they're asking for a 2nd overall pick and Holtz, or a 2nd overall pick and Mercer, I think just take the 2nd overall pick. You want to build a dynasty here. I know you're impatient. I know your fan base says that, and I said this before, that there's a possibility that if you don't make the playoffs next year, people lose their jobs, so there is a little bit of desperation in the air, but you were handed a gift with the 2nd overall pick. It came after years and years and years of losing. And now with Jack Hughes in the cam, Nico Hischier looking better than he ever has this past season. Jesper Bratt looking like, he's going to re-sign for long term, and he's looking like a legit top line or second line winger, definitely in the top 6 for years and years to come. When you have that foundation, and then you still got Alexander Holtz coming up, you still got Dawson Mercer who's going to keep growing, and you got probably 20 prospects who could become NHL players in the system. You really want to get that one more superstar. Outside of Holtz, I don't know if that exists. Obviously, there's some outliers like Gritsik in Russia who looks really good, and maybe a couple other guys could turn into something. I know they took Stillman in the 1st round last year, but I just don't think that's what they got him for. You have this chance to get this guy who could be your top line. People are saying, like, there's some people who are saying Ovechkin, which is crazy. I'm not going there, but even to say his name, or to say, some of the great scorers, Marian Hossa, some of the great tough scorers in this league, I don't know if you could trade this pick anymore.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, and it's accurate too. Like what you said earlier, and you're right there. Like about the Devils were gifted this number 2 pick, and I almost think that it's one of these things that we're all looking at right now, and over the past couple of weeks, and we're speculating what the Devils could do with this number 2 pick. Do they keep it? Do they trade it? What do they do? It's a good problem to have. Especially if you're, this front office and this coaching staff, obviously, in a crossroads like you said. The team has been losing. They've been losing consistently over the past couple of years. But to get gifted this number 2 pick when you thought you were going to be picking around 5, maybe 6, if the big column balls don't go as lucky as you thought they were, then it's one of those things that like you look at and you're like, okay, this is good. We can at least do something here that nets us something positive going into the next season. But I also, it worries me that maybe this team, has another offseason like last offseason where they hit all these home runs, they get all these good pieces, but then they end up, not doing well this year. And I think that might actually be what happens, regardless what happens with this number 2 overall pick. Obviously, if they pick a number 2, probably won't play this year, or will play in a very small role. Or if they get someone, you just hope he doesn't end up coming to New Jersey and just being a bust. It just would be a bad situation. But honestly, like right now, as I said, I think it's just a good situation all around to be in if you're New Jersey. It's a good problem to have.
It is a good problem to have. A bad problem to have right now is watching this New York Rangers team do well. I don't like it, Ryan. Maybe it's good for your view count, so I'm happy for you or whatever. But I'm not liking this. I don't like this. I hate it. I am so upset that the freaking Rangers are in the Eastern Conference. Sorry, I'm yelling. I'm angry. Anyway, I will calm down. Why don't we look at this in a calm and orderly fashion? So the Rangers are in the Eastern Conference Finals. Let's spin this for a positive. I was talking to Sam earlier that the Metropolitan Division looks like it's not as strong as we thought. It looks like that there isn't a team that's going to have a stranglehold on this division like the Caps and the Penguins have had for about a decade now. Is this the time that should the Devils look at this Rangers run and get excited because it looks like the Metropolitan Division can be it can be had for the next 10 years. There's not a team. I know Carolina looks really good, but they have major flaws. I know the Rangers look really good, but they still their age trajectory is strange. So should the Devils look at this and be like, if we can develop like we hope and we get a goalie, is this a division that we can this like we had in the late 90s and early 2000s?
I can tell you 2 things. I can tell you, number one, I think you're absolutely correct. I think that it's not going to be, obviously, the Penguins and Capitals show as it was for the past, what feels like, 15 years. I think that is accurate, very much so. The other thing that I know for a fact is I think that I know this for a fact, actually. I can say definitively that the front office views it like this. The front office thinks that the Devils are one goaltender away from being a really, really good team in this league. And I think that, that could be something when, down the line that you see happening. There's going to be a lot of parity in this division in particular. Because I agree with you. Carolina is very good. They have very glaring flaws. And I think that the Rangers, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that, what you said about their age trajectory being kind of weird, I think that's super accurate, because I think that, they're in the Eastern Conference Finals right now, but I think on any given year, it could be any one of these teams that makes a wild run like that. And I think these teams, all of them are, except for, a couple ones near the bottom there, maybe New Jersey included in that, are teams that are pretty close in talent-wise. So I think if the Devils just kind of get those pieces together, they get a good, solid goaltender, if they get a good, solid, and I should add consistent goaltender, and they add whatever talent they do with the second overall pick, be it a trade or be it the talent on draft night, And also on top of this, adding a free agent in this year's class, I think that you're going to see a Devils team that competes in this bloodbath of a division that has the potential to be a bloodbath of a division. And I think it's going to be a really fun couple years of hockey ahead of us in this Metro division.
Ryan, before I let you go, because I don't know if we'll have you on again before free agency, but we're definitely going to have you on again soon because really loving this conversation and glad that you're part of the new NJ.com team, the Star Ledger, because we're having a lot of fun right now. But who would you go after in terms of goalie? Who's somebody who you want right now in net that is theoretically available?
Yeah, there's two names. I think the obvious one that's been thrown out there a couple times is Marc-Andre Fleury. I don't know what deal could happen with that, and I wouldn't be able to say specifics on that, but I think he's just one of those experienced guys that you can go out there and get, maybe towards the end of his career, get like fire in him and go someplace in New Jersey. But probably one of the more interesting ones is Ville Husso. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe he's going to be unrestricted this year, free agency wise. Yes,
correct.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I didn't remember if it was restricted or not, but yeah, I think he's another name that the Devils could go after and maybe provide some depth in that goaltending room, and could even be their starter. But that is the one thing that's the major key of this offseason. I really, honestly, even more so excited than what they do with the goaltending situation than what they do with the second overall pick. I just cannot wait to see how it all folds out because, man, what a disaster it was in net this year for the Devils.
Sam, can you do me a favor? Can you pull up the site, pull up Pucks and Pitchforks real quick? I just want to show the fan base. Show the fan base. Me and Ryan are not on the same page because our top story right now, Ville Husso is too big a risk to take for the New Jersey Devils.
You think?
Ryan, I am not on board with you. I am off the Husso train. I don't want to take a risk. I don't want to take any risk. I'd rather spend big to get like a Connor Hellebuck, or I don't really want John Gibson, but maybe I just need something. I don't want to take any more risks. And it
Gibson,
seems like there are.
Is a good. I've never heard that. I never heard that suggestion, but that's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, go big for it. Sell the farm. Winnipeg is in a weird spot. I bet you. If they sign Barry Trotz, then I think then that gets taken off the table. But if they kind of get a newer coach to replace Paul Maurice, and they want to like kind of reset a little bit, there's a lot of possibilities there. But you brought up Marc-Andre Fleury. I mean, I would take him. You just got to get somebody to lock down the net. And I'm also not on board with just completely giving up on Blackwood. I still think he can be good, but man,
I agree. Something
just didn't go right this year. And I think it had a lot to do with his headspace. And I think a reset is really good for him. You had the vaccine thing, and then you had the heel injury happen at the same exact time, and he just never seemed right in the head. He was making a lot, like even beyond like the injury impacted saves that he couldn't make, he was also just making really silly mistakes. And I think that a reset will really help him. So if you want to get a guy and make Blackwood the 1B and you get a 1A, as long as it's a reliable name, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. I think keeping him in that 1B role actually do a lot of good for Blackwood. But also when you talk about headspace there, I do think that if there's something going full circle here, I think that if there is something that Toronto Blue Jays guy could do, maybe he could help out with that because he definitely has experience with helping out with hockey players and getting adjusted, or not hockey players, but athletes in general getting adjusted to their environments. And he does a lot of seminars on some mental health topics. So, maybe he can help out Blackwood and get them situated there. But that's obviously that's a lot of speculation there. But with I think that once they get it all solidified, whether it is Husso, whether it is Gibson, whoever it may be in net for the Devils this year, they really got to make an improvement this offseason, and Fitzy's got to go out and get someone.
Ryan Novozinsky, new reporter for NJ.com. Follow him at Ryan Novo62. Ryan, let everybody know what's coming up. What kind of Devils pieces are you working on? What can they expect to come up in the future?
Absolutely, yeah. So I don't want to give too much away, but I do have some pretty fun stuff in the works. I got a lot of good feature stories coming up, as you guys have already heard. I talked with Megan Dugan today, so you can expect something up on her within the next couple of. I can't really get a timetable on it right now. I'm still waiting on some other sources to get back to me, but that's the one thing that I will tease right now. And then obviously the draft is coming up, so we will have a lot of these questions answered in the coming weeks, and I'll hopefully try to get out there. And I can't promise anything, but I'll try to answer some of these questions for everyone before they happen. You know, as you guys know, how the PR game works with any team in Major League Sports. It's just something they like to keep a tight ship around there. And we will figure it out, and we will do our darndest to try to figure it out before it all happens in Montreal.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited about it. And you know, I just retweeted your piece on the new hirings. So make sure go check out Ryan Novozinsky on Twitter. Check out his stuff on NJ.com. And Ryan, we'll definitely have you on again. This was a lot of fun. We'll talk to you soon.
Awesome, gentlemen. Thank you so much for having me. And you guys, keep up the good work. This is awesome.
All right. Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks,
and
Ryan.
We'll see you at Taj Lounge 973 outside of a game one day.
Absolutely. I would love that.
Awesome. That is Ryan Novozinsky. Hopefully I didn't mutilate that again. I got to practice.
No, I think you got
Nick.
this time.
I did? Oh. Reporter of NJ.com. Great conversation. Love the hockey talk, but I'm going to disappoint you here.
Oh, boy.
I'm going to disappoint you here. If they think just getting a bona fide goaltender is going to solve all their problems, there's a lot of problems with that defense. A lot of holes where I don't even think Shesterkin can make those saves. It's kind of interesting how the. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think the defense.
You want to fight me? Let's go.
I think that there was a little bit of and I understand where you're coming from. I don't think that you're wrong per se that the defense was letting up some ham sandwiches to the other team, but I think the defense played really well in the first half of the season, and the goalies just didn't stop a freaking beach ball. And I think once you were dealing with the John Gillies of the world and the Kira Schmids and Nico Dodge, bless his heart, he was trying real hard, but he was a little overwhelmed and too young. I think once you're the defense and you're looking at that, I think you just kind of you don't trust what's happening behind you and you get a little desperate, I think is what happened. I noticed a lot more pinching because they wanted to get the goals, and that led to a lot more chances the other way. I think that if you look at the first half of the season, especially Ryan Graves, if you look at the first half that Ryan Graves had next to Dougie Hamilton, it was phenomenal. Honestly, like him and Dougie Hamilton were one of the better pairs in the league, and that's saying something. But all the numbers kind of show that they were one of the better pairs in the league, and then Dougie got hurt, and Ryan was on an island, and he wasn't as good without Dougie Hamilton. And then when Dougie came back, he said that not only did he have the broken jaw, but he had a broken toe. So you had probably on his best day, you had 2/3 of what you expect from Dougie Hamilton. I thought Severson had a really good offensive season. Obviously, Jonas Siegenthaler had one of the better defensive seasons we've seen in a long time. The question is Ty Smith. Ty Smith was atrocious this year. And there's no putting any lipstick on that pig because it was what it was. I tried to talk it away earlier in the season, but it was just clear he was making. I mean, remember that one year we all thought he was absolutely going to make the team, and then he just had one of the worst preseasons we've ever seen from a player, and they sent him back to Spokane. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
He played like that most of the season. There were some glimpses, especially offensively, but when he can't even get on the power play when the power play is one of the worst in the league. I don't know what you do as the
you're actually proving my point. That is the problem. Some of it's not the fault of Dougie Hamilton getting hit in the jaw and then having to come back and play. But if the Devils front office think they're one goaltender away of being a contender, I got news for them. They're not. I hate to break
what
it
do you
to
mean contender? I think. What do you mean contender?
Well, the way Ryan said that that the front office really believes that they're one goaltender away, and if they really believe that, I got news for them. They're not. They're not. If you look at what the Rangers are doing right now, I marvel at it because the Rangers, Colorado, and I would even put a little bit of Edmonton back in 2017, 2018, let's say 2018, we're all in the same boat, rebuilding. Rebuilding. Look where Colorado is right now. Look where the Rangers are right now.
Edmonton had Connor McDavid. They just weren't. Things weren't working out.
Yeah, but they were still trying to figure things out. And what the Rangers did was pretty interesting. First, they sent out a letter to their season ticket holders. And then they were, on that, track, like what the Devils were. And then finally, Tom Wilson changed the whole dynamics. And within that, 2-3 month period, they beefed up. The Devils, they get a guy named Angus, Okay, two different directions. I'm just kind of interested to see how this plays in the future. But I'm just pointing out the differences right now. And I think you make a great point about the Metropolitan Division. The traditional foes in the last 10 to 15 years are starting to age, while the Devils are young. The Rangers right now are in a good spot. They laid down the blueprint of how to kind of muscle their way into the playoffs, and it seems like Shesterkin gets better as the games go on in the playoffs. That he just gets stronger and stronger and stronger. He starts off weak, and then suddenly he shuts the door. That's what happened with Carolina. That's what happened with Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. So, again, I'm not sure if the Rangers way is the right way, but I'm just saying that if the Devils management think they're just one goaltender away, no, they need to get an assistant coach that can really, like a Larry Robinson type, to fix that defense, and then we can talk about goaltending. But till that defense is fixed, but you do make a good point. I mean, when you have John Gillies back there, I'm not really inspired to play.
Yeah, because I'm not going to tell you that the defense was good in the second half. I don't think that. I just think that it was good in the first half. It's the same players, just with more injuries.
But the shorthanded goals, I'm telling you, I don't know if Shesterkin was back there. Could he have, covered that up?
I don't think a lot of those weren't the goaltender's faults. That was just, and there was a lot of shorthanded chances that didn't go in the net. Weirdly enough, I was looking at the numbers. Andrew Hammond had a pretty good save percentage when it came to really difficult shots. He was pretty bad everywhere else, but when it came to really difficult shots that he was facing, he made a couple highlight reel saves. But, it's because he had the opportunity to do it all the freaking time. My friend Vince wants a shout-out, Sam, because I didn't answer his phone. So this is my shout-out to Vince. Nobody knows who that is, and this is going to get forgotten immediately.
Vinny?
But, no, it's different Vince. This is not Vinny Parisi. Vinny Parisi. Star writer of Pucks and Pitchforks. He had a big month too. And let's talk about big months, Sam. Let's
Big
talk
months.
about the biggest month of all time at pucksandpitchforks.com.
All time?
400 all time ever I think this site has been around for close to 10 years. Never have we hit 464,000 views in 31 days time. So I want to thank all the Devils fans. It's been a dreadful season, but you haven't given up on us. You love what we're writing. There's a lot of stuff. Some of the stuff you hate, some of the stuff you love. It's been fun though, and that's kind of the whole point. I wrote a piece, Sam, and it got shared on Twitter, completely out of context. I wrote a piece that literally said 5 of the worst trades I've seen proposed for second overall pick. And just kind of like making fun of other fan bases who like to overvalue everything. Yeah. And then I got yelled at for saying, why would you propose these trades? It's like, it's literally in the title that I didn't propose them, other idiots did. But it got me 40,000 views, Sam. 40,000 views.
Wow.
So, clearly it's doing something right. But yeah, no, we seem to be hitting the right pulse of the fan base. The draft is coming up. The free agency is coming up in July. I think that we're in good shape with the site. And you said it was a really good month for the podcast too, right?
But we didn't do a couple podcasts because, holidays and, all that, but second best month of all time. Second
Nice.
best. And there's no hockey going on. The number one month was actually December of 2021,
nice,
which was over 20,000 downloads that month. But we were all holly jolly during that time, and it was in season. This is off season, folks, and it really didn't kick in till mid-May, and it really didn't kick in till before the NHL draft lottery. And, of course, we'll have you covered next month, NHL draft. We're probably going to figure out and do something. But, here lies the problem. We don't know what the Devils are going to do with that second overall pick. Will they trade it? Will we really even have a draft day party? What are we going to do? I'm still on the Logan Cooley bandwagon. And it's 4 or 5 years from now where I'll be told you so. And I've got all the video evidence.
Mr. Beef. How is Mr. Beef going for the smallest guy that's available to us?
I'm gonna. You know what? I don't want to troll anybody, but I have a bad gut feeling about the Slovakian. I have a bad feeling. I just don't know why. And that's why Logan Cooley, I think, is the second best available. But if Shane Wright's there, take him. But that's not going to happen. Montreal knows what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on that one. I definitely think that if Shane Wright's there, you're thrilled. You're jumping for joy even more than Slavkovsky. If Montreal talks themselves into Slavkovsky over Wright, you're doing. I'm going to dance around this living room and do it live on the podcast. But
could he pull a Nico Hischier where his stock rises and peaks at the right moment at the draft? It could happen, And I'm not saying there's a knock on this guy. I just. Honestly, it's nobody really knows. I just got a bad feeling about it. Nobody could predicted Nolan Patrick, the way his career, with the Flyers and all the issues and now with Vegas.
But his issues were injuries. His issues were injuries, and that is an inherent risk. And that's kind of how it played out.
But how can this – you don't know even some of these big guys – how they will fare in the NHL. It's a different game. It's a different ice surface. The world ice, he's on a bigger ice. Come to North America and see what he can do.
So would you rather just trade the pick then?
Me? No, I told you I'm all in on Logan Cooley. That's me. But to
So do you
trade
think
that
Cooley's playing?
second pick,
Do you think Cooley's playing wing, or you want him as a third line center?
third line center. But let me finish my point here. If I were Tom Fitzgerald, I'd be strategically hyping up the Slovakian, the big guy, the elephant in the room. I'd be hyping him up and planting seeds around the media and all that good stuff for the very reason to make that second overall pick so valuable that someone's going to give up a lot for that pick. Which is, he's a good player. I don't know.
I would do the same thing. I would. You want to know why? There's two reasons why I do that, Sam. One, I want people to get it, to start offering the farm to get the pick, and maybe you can just trade it straight up for Matthew Tkachuk. Why can't I say this name? Matthew
Tkachuk. Yep.
Tkachuk. Whatever. Or maybe Montreal talks themselves into taking Slavkovsky.
It's a win-win for Tom Fitzgerald. And if that's what Tom Fitzgerald and the staff is doing, they're doing a great job. I'll say it because you gotta hype the big guy. You gotta hype the big guy. And then that second overall pick suddenly becomes more picks, or it suddenly becomes impact player plus pick. You gotta hype it up. You saw what happened to Eric Lindros. He's 6'5". I mean, he was a Hall of Fame player, this and that. But guess what? Some of these big guys, once you get, take the pounding night in and night out, it doesn't work out so well. And I'm not saying this guy can't survive the NHL, but you simply don't know, and I just think that's too risky. I think going with a U.S. Development team player like Cooley is probably the safe bet, but also he doesn't make mistakes out on the ice. That's all.
Yeah, I agree.
Am I making my case?
No, you are.
But again, there's no right or wrong answer, no pun intended with Shane Wright, but I just think, you know what, if Tom Fitzgerald's hyping up that second overall, let him do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's smart. But it's 9:30.
Who knows?
Sam. We had a big podcast tonight.
Who knows? Maybe he can get a gold. What's that? Well, yeah. Well, Ryan's pretty cool. I'll text him later and be like, yeah, the offer still stands if you want to meet us there or whatever. But to recap, Nick, congratulations on coming back. I wasn't aware, to recap, I wasn't aware about this before the podcast. I was aware when you were aware, the fans. And this changes the whole dynamics, I'm assuming, of the Let's Go Devils podcast and State of the Fan address. You've been doing this fine programming from the confines of your own home studio in Tampa. But now you're invading New Jersey and you're taking the South while I got the North. And this is how we're going to this is how we're going to get following everywhere. There's already a bar, Frank's Bars, talking about the Let's Go Devils podcast. And Belmar doing something.
Ooh, so you're taking over Central Jersey as well.
Is that Central? I don't know.
Yeah, Belmar's Central. Belmar is definitely Central. There's some people, and I'm going to call them idiots. You're an idiot if you think Ocean County is in South Jersey. I will fight you. But Ocean County, if you want to split Ocean County in half and say the top half of Ocean County is in Central Jersey, okay, I won't fight you. Ocean County is a big county. I never realized how big Ocean County was until I was looking at a map not too long ago. It's like, wow, Ocean County is a large county for how big New Jersey is in general.
I still split Jersey into North and South, 201 or 609. I'm old school like that.
There's literally three other area codes, Sam.
No, I remember back in the day when there was only two. 201, and 609. That's it.
No, wait. 908 has existed for at least 30 years.
Yeah, well, do you know how old I am? I remember payphones and record players
there was
and
payphones 10
8-tracks.
years ago. Get out of here. I remember, what is it?
I remember Ken Danico with hair.
Yeah, I remember back in the day when, like, the big business to get into was collect calling. You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
All the big commercials for collect call commercials.
Yeah, and the trick, there's a couple tricks. You'd be like, call me here. I'll be there in 5 minutes,
Yeah.
Like, you just leave that little message.
This payphone 732-854-5555.
Or when the digital recorders came out, you go to Radio Shack, you get the digital recorder, and it has, like, some computer sound, and then you make it so you get put in free quarters, but you're not.
Yeah.
To make the calls. That's what we used to do in college. With a payphone to call home. These kids nowadays, they have it great.
They'll never understand.
Yeah, they'll never understand what it's like to go away to college and then keep up with the Devils because there was no way, And then anyway,
you gotta call
that'll
home,
be another podcast for another day.
What's the standings? Yeah, but yeah. No, I'm excited, Sam. I'm excited to come back home. I'm excited about the big month for the podcast and the website. I'm excited to be a Devils fan. I know a lot. I saw somebody say they were upset that they picked the Devils over the Rangers, and I'm just not. I'm excited to be a Devils fan. I'm excited about what the future has to offer. They need a goalie. I think they're a goalie away from being a playoff competitive team. And I think that they're a goalie, a winger, and probably a bottom line defenseman, and then
basically a whole entire team.
No, it's 4 players. Think about it, Sam. Last year they added, what did they add? They had Dougie Hamilton, Ryan Graves, Tomas Tatar, and they had Nathan Bastian during the season. That's basically the 4 players I'm talking about. You need similar pieces, you need a better forward. You need a worse defenseman because you need a bottom line guy, and then you need a goalie. That's where
I think they need to bring in an assistant coach that can fix that defense immediately. Who is that person? We don't know, but I think we saw what Jacques Lemaire and Larry Robinson did back in the mid-'90s. They did wonders with that team because, remember, that 93 Devils team gave up more shorthanded goals than this current Devils team, and they turned that completely around. So just remember that, people.
It's just sad that Stevens doesn't want to do it because he was a really good coach.
Yeah.
But
now, why doesn't he want to do that? Do you want to start speculating? No, I'm kidding.
I don't know.
That'll be for another podcast. I don't want to get ourselves in trouble.
Yeah, before I get sued, Sam, and lose my new job, why don't we end the podcast?
Yeah, I'm trying to find the play button so I can do that before I shoot my mouth off again.
But we're not going to have anything new tomorrow on Pucks and Pitchforks, but we're going to have plenty of content starting Friday. I'm taking a couple days to kind of reset the batteries. But it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot of fun this month, too, just like we had last month. We're going to do a lot of fake trades. We're going to do mock drafts this month. That's what you got coming up in June, fake trades and mock drafts. We got a lot of speculation. It's speculation season, Sam. It's going to be a lot of fun.
What happens if I'm a jerk and I decide to write an article just to make you look bad that there's nothing coming out tomorrow?
What would you say? You're going to spend 300 words saying that nothing's coming out tomorrow? No, write an article. I don't know. We have 10 writers. I can't control them. One of my writers might write something. I can't. If there's something new tomorrow, look at it as a gift. Just like the second overall pick, look at it as a gift.
Exactly. Want to thank Ryan Novozinsky. Is that how you pronounce? I got to work on it. Yeah, we don't pronounce names right here on the Let's Go Devils podcast, State of the Fan address, but that's okay. Enjoy your commute tomorrow, folks. Till next time, let's go Devils.